Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. I thank the gentleman for his leadership and that of his committee in bringing this important bipartisan legislation to the floor. I salute you. I salute Jerry Nadler, an author of this legislation, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Katko, for his lead authorship among other, his lead co-sponsorship among other Republican members to make this strongly bipartisan. I'm excited about this legislation as a mother of 5 children, 4 daughters, 1 son, 9 grandchildren, that this is about a recognition of family and being family friendly in our legislation as more women are a part of the economic success of our country. I rise to support the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, a strong bipartisan step to assure that women are no longer forced to choose between maintaining a healthy pregnancy and a paycheck, a choice that for many has serious health consequences. This landmark legislation advances the health of women and children, the financial security of families, and really the dynamism of our American economy. And its passage, which while long overdue, is particularly urgent as the lives and livelihood of so many have under threat from the coronavirus. And again, I thank you, Mr. Leader, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Katko and Mr. Nadler, and so many others for their leadership in passing this bill, and thanks to all the co-sponsors. Again, as a mother of 5, I'm especially proud to support the bill and want to salute all the mothers and women who have spoken out, also risking professional retaliation to end pregnancy discrimination in the workplace. This is what this means. It means that too often when a pregnant worker asks for a temporary job-related accommodation, she will be fired or pushed into unpaid leave, deprived of her paycheck and health insurance when she needs them most. This is particularly true in many fiscally taxing jobs, which tend to be low wage and traditionally dominated by men. And that is why we must pass the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, putting in place a clear, explicit pregnancy accommodation framework similar to the standard that is in place for decades for workers with disabilities, which I was proud to be part of. Our distinguished leader, Mr. Hoyer, has been a major leader in that regard. This legislation, Mr. Speaker, is also a matter of justice, as nearly 300 groups from the ACLU to 023, recently wrote to Congress from A to Z, discrimination affects pregnant workers across race and ethnicity, but women of color and immigrants may be at particular risk. Latinas, Black women, and immigrant women are more likely to be held certain inflexible and physically demanding jobs that can present specific challenges for pregnant workers, making responsible accommodations on the job even more important, and loss of wages and health insurance due to pregnancy discrimination especially challenging. I think it's important to note that this legislation is important also from the standpoint of hiring. We want to make sure that that employers who are hiring someone know there's a level playing field should the woman be of childbearing age or even already blessed with a pregnancy, that this is a positive initiative for their workplace, and they're treating that person with respect, is not placing them at any disadvantage if the playing field is level. This comes at a time when I mentioned about the pandemic, that around 2 million women were pushed out of the labor force. One out of 4 women report they're still worse off financially than a year ago. Studies show that it'll take 18 months longer for the women's employment to rebound from the pandemic than for men's, and the reduction of women's work hours and labor force participation is set to erase tens of billions of dollars from our economy. American women are part of the engine of America's economy and a key to building back better on this after this crisis. And again, as we all say, when women succeed, America succeeds. And we can apply that to say when women of childbearing age succeed, America certainly succeeds. And for mothers and women who are pregnant, the challenges are even graver because our nation still lacks sufficient workplace protections against pregnancy discrimination. And that is why this legislation is so very important and is consistent with what we pledge to liberty and justice for all women.